Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm so happy to have you here. As the themes of this week are transition. And so we really talk about how we can roll with versus fight against. So how can you flow with the river instead of swim upstream? And that is a crucial message as we are really being called to release old patterns, things that we are holding on to that are not serving us and are not in alignment, and where those karmic wounds are ready to be healed. And in doing so, that is going to allow us to step into our greatest potential and power. And this is a foundational time because we'll be moving into the eclipses so soon. So stay tuned, listen in, and find out how this week's energy update can take you to your own greatest embodiment and truth on your path. Let me just tell you, the time has flown by because the energy has been very dynamic and very intense in a way, and have been a lot faster pace than the energy of January. And this is on purpose because it really is beginning to gear us up. And so we did start the year very slow, but as we're progressing, we're really coming through into this much more intense energy as it really culminates in the energy of April, because April is the month of the eclipses. It's going to be a very expansive and high energy month. And so things are going to be happening and rapidly changing up until that point. And so really each of the transitions of these months have been drawing us closer towards that point, towards the eclipses when big shedding are going to happen. And that's the case with this week. And so at the end of last week, we had the full moon in Virgo. And let me just tell you, that was intense, very strong energy, because this is the last full moon until we begin with the eclipse season. And so it really is shaking up the earth and trying to unearth anything that's there so that you can have an easier ride through the eclipses. And that's pretty much the point of it. And so if you notice it was pretty rough, either lots of emotions, a lot of exhaustion, a lot of intense energy, it's for a reason. And if you notice maybe that it was all right for you, you were just sailing through, it just is probably a reminder that you are doing so much amazing work already. And so we really wanted to use this, I say, the full moon, and obviously the empower with the full moon comes to bring us a lot of the awareness around what we are ready to release. And it's now up to us in this time, so in the waning moon, so the last 2 weeks as we end out this lunar cycle, to begin the new one with the new moon in a couple of weeks. It's this waning mood period where we continue to release anything that we've decided that we are carrying that we do not need. And that's the energy that we're in this week. We are just coming out of the new moon, of the full moon energies. And now as the moon begins to wane, so it becomes darker and darker in the sky because less of it is seen, that's when we begin to release and shed anything. And that's the theme of this week. This week's theme is transition. And it is a transitional period for most of us because as we approach this eclipse season, that is going to be another shaking point that is trying to draw us closer and closer to our soul's purpose, to our soul's path. And basically just being as most connected to that soul intention as we can possibly be. And so usually the eclipse season can be quite rough for that reason, because your soul is just saying to you, hey, I know we were decided that we were going to do a few things in this lifetime, like checking the time, like how are you getting on with this? And that's pretty much the energy. And so anything that is like non-alignment is going to carry on shaking up and showing to you. Because it wants you to release them so you can be as connected and purposeful in this lifetime, like that you're destined to be. And with that comes a lot of transition. And as we notice, because we are in the waning moon, there is a transition. Even the moon is transitioning from full to as it goes smaller and smaller into the new again. And we are going through that similar transition. And we're being asked to transition through and release anything that is out of order, out of use, that we just don't need anymore, that is not serving us, that we've been carrying around, that it's not needed anymore. We're carrying it and we just don't need it. And so with this, it's our final calling in a way before the eclipse season to really release. And so it can be quite intense. And because the full moon was quite intense, this kind of waning period does feel quite intense as well energetically, because it's saying, okay, can we release? Can we let go of anything that we're not needed? Because it's going to make your ride easier in a month's time as the next lunar cycle comes in, and then we transition into the eclipse again. And so it's really just asking us and inviting us to let go. Can we consciously, in a conscious mind, say, okay, I'm deciding what I'm shedding. I'm deciding that I'm leaving this behind. I do not need it anymore. And all the ways that I have been small, stuck, powerless, not confident in myself, lacking self-worth, having these inner narratives around not feeling good enough, whatever it is, I am ready now to release them. And in that shedding comes a degree of release and a transition into who you're meant to be. Because when you can release the things that are no longer serving you, that creates space for the things that are going to serve you. And if you think about it, I mean, I always use silly examples. Well, it's not a silly example, it's a reasonable example, but I always use an example like a job. If you're in a job that's not aligned for you and it's making you feel really heavy and stuck and you feel unwell and you're stressed all the time, that is not in alignment. And perhaps under the moon, you just got this message that, that's really not serving you anymore. In releasing that and leaving that behind, you then free up your energetic space. You're no longer stressed. You feel better physically. You feel better mentally, spiritually, emotionally. And that creates space, therefore, to have a job that is in alignment with you. You see, and that's an example. And this is the same case if you're releasing any fears or any past experiences or any baggage that you're carrying around with you, because in releasing it, it creates space for you to begin to feel better, to be more connected, to have more faith in yourself or more confidence. And then that creates a space to attract what it is that you need and is in alignment with your soul in the here and now. And so with this energy, it can be very dynamic. And so this does feel like a very dynamic energy week. And so we are being asked to continuously shed. Anything that comes to the surface that is not in alignment, continue to shed. So it almost feels like we're going to be continued to show the things that we are not wanting, that we've decided that we don't want. And in doing so, and as the emotions come to the surface, we can say, cool, this is it. I choose to release this now. And it is almost like that conscious recognition of what's coming up to the surface and saying, oh, there's my friend again. There's that thought. There's that emotion. There's that baggage, whatever it is. I consciously decide to release this. That's where this dynamic energy comes in. And it's almost like the things are going to be coming to the surface just to remind us. And so what's coming up is self-sabotage. Maybe you decided on this moon that that's a massive thing that's blocking you from living in your soul's truth and alignment. And you said, okay, I'm ready to let it go. And then this week, all the self-sabotage comes up, the procrastination and all these things. If you can catch it in the moment and say, oh, I recognize, I'm ready to release you. I have decided that this is not in alignment for me anymore. That's the kind of thing that we're saying as it comes to the surface, release it. And with this, it's asking, pay close attention to your emotions specifically under this week, because they are guiding you to see important messages and to take on important lessons, etc. And so if you can really be attuned to what your emotions are when they come up and really feel them as they rise and say, okay, what's this trying to show me? Okay, cool. I feel not good enough. I feel lack of confidence, or whatever the theme is, a story for you. That's going to guide you to where you're still holding on to things and where you are invited to release. And with this release is going to come a fresh of breath air, especially as we kind of near towards the end of this week. We're in the quarter moon, and that's going to near us in the last quarter towards the new moon again. And so that is the end of the lunar cycle. And so with that, there is under the moon, the full moon especially, while we are very exhausted, it tends to be a heightened drive or heightened emotion to almost close up the things that you need to do before you start the next lunar cycle. And so they're really inviting us to use this energy of the moon's light to take any action towards the things that we want to release. And so perhaps you have an action list for under the full moon. Can you use this energy to take action on it? And if you don't have an action list, there is still time. You can still use this as a reflection. And over in the Facebook group, you'll notice that there is Facebook prompts, the journaling prompts every single week to guide you deeper into your own embodiment and into your own truth and alignment. And within those, there's going to be a list of things where you are going to be able to reflect on to say, okay, I'm ready to release this now. And they're just saying, make sure that you don't overcomplicate things, because with the Virgo, it can be very like critical, very logical mind that can come in and just go, no, over analyze everything. And I know, because I'm a double Virgo, so both my sun sign and my rising sign are in Virgo, so I get it. And they're really literally trying to remind us that while we want to recognize the emotions that are coming up and, allowing them to guide us to what we need to see, try not to overcomplicate it. Don't get caught in your mind, and just allow it to be as simple as possible. So can you simply allow the expression of the emotions to rise and to be moved through you and choose to release them from that point? Versus getting stuck in like the story of them. It's, can we be in the body of them? Can we be in the physical, emotional experience of them? And then allow that logical mind to just dissipate. And in the feeling of them, we can choose to release them from that point. And that is a reminder under this specific energy update, also under this waning moon. And so make sure with this, because there is a lot of shedding, even if you don't like consciously realize it, there is a lot of shedding and purging that has been happening through you. With this, there is very big like karmic cycles being released. And so especially if you've been using this moon to do karmic release, there is strong, potent movement happening. And your physical body takes a big toll in this. So we are being invited to nurture our bodies as much as possible during this time. It feels like a very like slow nurturing energy that wants to come through. So a lot of like gentle nourishment. So like physically nourishing your body with food, but making sure to rest, to relax, and to move the body gently as well. Drinking water, making sure that the body is nourished in that capacity. And in doing that, you're going to be able to withstand, have a greater capacity to hold yourself through this period of time, especially as we come into eclipse season. Because the more that you can nourish your physical body and ground yourself in that, easier ride, but the more you're going to be able to withstand a lot of the energy coming through, especially when there's big release happening, especially around karmic things. And so in doing so, allow that all that is no longer serving you to be purged, purged through you in whatever ways. This could be like physically crying. If you notice you're very emotional and you need to cry a lot, take it, understand that that's what it is. Perhaps there's a lot of energy movement in the body, maybe sickness, physical symptoms. Allow it just with a greater level of compassion and understanding. This is where the gentle movement comes in, because if you're noticing that you're getting sick or there's a lot of like pain or heaviness in the body, if you can do very gentle movement, like gentle stretching, etc., it helps to release some of the stored energy that's in the body that's coming up, to the surface as we purge. But just allow it to be, and in a recognition that this is all in your greatest awareness and understanding. So the more that you can allow that to happen, the easier it will be in a way, right? Instead of like fighting against it and white knuckling through, it will be a little bit easier to get through. But most of all, the final message here is declare what you want to release and allow it to be so. Allow it to be released. And this is very much the taking yourself out of it in a way, like, because when we can really be in that controller kind of striving energy, we feel like we have to do everything to release, to do all these things. Simply being in the declaration of, I am ready to release this, and so it is. That is the determination and the faith that things are being taken care of for you as well. And you are being taken care of. And so this is definitely a reminder that while we need to have some kind of involvement, right, in recognizing the patterns and recognizing what's coming up for us, we can really very much sit in the energy of, I've received this, I understand, I am ready to release, and so it is. And that is your own declaration in it, and just faith that it's going to get sorted for you. And so that's very much the tying in of this transitional period. But with all transition, like, don't fight the waves. Try to roll with the waves, because that's going to be so much easier than like swimming upstream. If you can flow with the river, that is much easier. And so with that, the things that do make it easier is supporting yourself. Because if you can be physically nurtured and nourished in the ways that you need to, like proper sleep, food, care, rest, etc., it makes it easier to hold yourself through them. Because it means that you will be more grounded, you will be more nurtured, versus running on burnout and just trying to fight the transition. And so the message here is just flow with the river as much as you can, and take care of your body and yourself in the ways that are going to really support you while you flow with it. And I did pull a little card for my email list. And so if you're not on my email list, I will leave a little link underneath so you can join if you feel aligned to you. Whereas in my newsletter, every week, I share a little oracle reading underneath to guide you through this energy. And this message is beneath the surface. And so what is really driving you? What are your true motives? And what are you being called to break free from? And I'll just share that little card with you. It's a beautiful card, The Healing Waters by Rebecca Campbell. And this is like, wow, of course, what is really driving you and what are you ready to break free from? This comes with the transitional period. And so if the things that have been driving you have been lack of confidence, lack of self-esteem, people pleasing, acceptance, if you can sit in those things, you can recognize, okay, damn, I am ready to break free. And in breaking free, that is the release. So in releasing, you are being broken free. And so it's such a foundational message, and just a reminder that the angels and the guides are definitely with us, confirming all of these messages right now. So recognize, what are you holding on to that you do not need any longer? What is actually driving you that you realize is not in your truest alignment? And how can you break free in surrendering to that transition and that release? So I'm so happy to share this with you. Take care, look after yourself, especially at this time. And I will see you so soon.